you, I thought.
Okay.
This is your baby.
All right, here we are. We're live once again. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It is Thursday night, and you know what time that is. It's 6:30 Central, 5:30 Mountain Time. And it is time for another show of The Author's Dilemma, where tadpoles like us are learning together, and we're helping each other meet that next stage, and hopefully turning into a frog in the author sense and jumping to the next stage. So this week,
I prefer to be a toad.
Well, yeah, whatever. What you drinking there, Jen?
Go-go juice.
I had a long day at work, so I'm having some Earl Grey tea hot.
Ooh, nice. That sounds good.
You gotta love the mug from the local hospital that you keep using for water.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, so this week we're talking about mindset and then goals we have, different things that we want to talk about. Hyrum, you brought it up last week, so why don't you go ahead and start with
Sure.
that.
So the interesting thing about mindset is we often at this time of year fall into the trap of resolutions. And resolutions, to be frank, are garbage, in my opinion. The reason being is that the way that they're used by society, which is not ideal, it tends to set us up for failure. And the biggest failure comes because we try to bite off more than we can chew. So one of my favorite YouTubers, CGP Grey, who I recommend all of you follow. You could binge all of his videos and feel like you were a better person. He has one about themes. So instead of setting a resolution, the whole point is to set a theme. So instead of having, I'm going to exercise every day this year at the gym for 2 hours, something you will fail, he says, have a theme. So for mine, I am doing a year of joy. I am trying to have a deeper feeling of joy, but I'm not setting it specific to, I will feel joy. I will do these things to make myself feel joy. No, I am setting it up as a theme. It's like when given a choice between doing something that brings me joy and something that does not, whenever possible, I will just choose the thing that brings me joy. So if I have to choose between doing marketing and writing some more, I'll probably choose writing more often than not. Other themes there's so many themes. Basically, any kind of theme that you can come up with for you can really resonate. A year, and it doesn't have to be a year. It can be a quarter, like season, month, however short you want to make it. So some people might do a month of reading where they've decided they're going to read more than they watch videos. How that month of reading, they might start and realize, okay, I just don't feel it when I'm reading Brandon Sanderson's latest gigantic book. I'm going to read short stories. I'm going to read magazines. And those are all things that can be wonderful. And so setting these themes as broad concepts, and then you fill them in as you go, and you just keep it in your head. Instead of being I must do this or I'm a failure, it becomes I can make a small choice. And the last thing I'll say before I open up to the group is how often in our stories, and not just ours, but those of many authors, do time travelers, I still hate time travel, but do time travelers go back in time and change one thing and it changes the entire world? They step on a butterfly and suddenly the dinosaurs didn't die. And we're all living in a world with dinosaurs. No, if you think about it, if we're honest with ourselves, those small changes do change the world. So why not make them without time travel? That's what a theme does, is let you make the small decisions for the long term.
I'm glad that you closed the loop on that, because I was like, man, time travel and themes, I don't know how you're going to get well, no, yeah. Well, that's interesting. Man, there's a lot to unpack there, right? I mean, there's a lot of like thought process with that, because I'm a goal oriented person. I'm not really a resolution For me, it's like I want to, like, my goal this year is to complete this urban fantasy I'm working on. But going back to a theme versus resolution, now in your resolution, do you have goals? Or
You can.
Okay.
Themes are such that the point of them is to leave it broad and fill it in with small decisions, because small decisions get done. Big
Mhm.
decisions fail. When you say I'm going to exercise every day, you will fail, because every day is ridiculous. And even when you say I will do, even if you say I'm only going to exercise 10 minutes, you'll still miss a day. And then you'll be depressed, and then you'll not do it again. And then suddenly it's 2025.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
So
heck,
it's especially valid as an author,
Mm.
because you can start a book, and if you say, "Oh, I can," but then you leave off for, I forgot a day, and then you get depressed, and suddenly it's 10 years later, and you still haven't written your book.
right.
Well, and what's really the difference, though? I mean, in your case, Joshua, that you want to finish an urban fantasy. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to break it down into smaller parts. You're going to say, I'm going to do this many words a day, or I'm going to set aside this many hours for editing. And so it's really it's very similar, because
It's interesting
big
because
picture.
I found for me that if I'm in a project, which I'm quasi in and out of this project. So for the past few books that I wrote, when I started, every day it was a non-negotiable. Like, it has to be non-negotiable. If you're going to write and you're going to be serious about it, it has to be non-negotiable. You have to set aside the time. So when I'm in a project, I wrote 500 words every day when I was in the project. I haven't done it like, because sometimes you just don't have any ideas between projects.
Yeah.
Right. So you're kind of, in my opinion, I was wasting time. So I don't do that. But yeah. So going back to, for me, in between projects, going to the next project, it's like I have to wait for that frustration to build, almost like a bubble. And it's frustrating to me. And then the pain of me not doing it gets to the point where I have to get it done. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Well,
Okay.
and that's where themes really become powerful, is because your threshold of frustration becomes lower, because you're telling yourself, I may not get the 500 words, but I can at least open it and stare at it. And that's an improvement. That's part of the theme of writing more. If it's a year of writing, you open the thing and stare at it. You go sit in the shower for 2 hours thinking. Okay, maybe not good for your water bill, but if that's where your ideas come, go. And you find the place. Some people, it may be that your year of writing involves a heck of a lot of going on walks and just chattering to your phone and recording.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think whatever it is for everybody, I mean, they find what works for them. Like I said, for me, it was 500 words a day when I'm in a project, and then it became almost like a workout, like where I had to. It was like I said, and it didn't matter. Like, I would write 500 words. It might have been crap 500 words, but I would get that done. And then it was kind of like a steam valve. Like, okay, I'm done for today. And then the next day I would do it again and do it again. And I'll have to say, for those that sounds scary to, eventually it gets easier. When I first started, and Jen, are you the same way? Do you have daily?
I set goals, yes.
Right.
But like today, I didn't write anything because I had administrative stuff to do. But yesterday, I doubled my goal. So
well, right, because sometimes life gets in the way. And when I say 500 words a day, yes, there were some times I was traveling and I just literally could not. But if I had the time, or I had a little bit of time, when I first started writing, it took me maybe an hour and a half to write 500 words, which was a lot. But now I've gotten to the point where I can write 500 words if I'm focused. That's the key word. If you're focused, I could do it in 20 minutes.
Mhm.
But
and this is where I'd like to throw in the word mercy,
right?
Because mercy is key. I had depression for 25 years. I only recently was able to overcome it, and truly, I have overcome it. Still have anxiety. That's a whole long story. take it. If anyone wants to know more about how I did it, talk to me privately. Not a conversation for this group, but for that entire time, I would beat myself up when I didn't meet goals. I've learned to forgive myself for not meeting a daily goal. And so for me, I don't do daily goals. It's too much trauma, too much. For 25 years, when you've failed and failed and failed, it doesn't work. It's never going to work. And so that's one of the reasons my themes are so interesting, is because I can say, okay, part of it is just making small incremental changes. And I am a surge writer, you might say. I do sprints, and I do long sprints. I am as likely to write 10,000 words in a day as I am to write 0. Wow. If I write a lot. And if that's what works for you, do it. In some ways, I envy the consistency of 500 words a day, because on average, I'm probably doing 500 to 1,000 words a day. If I could do every day, that'd be great. But it's not my nature. Right. And so when I do 5,000 words in a day and then don't touch it for a week and do all the other things I have to do in life, I consider that a success.
Right. And that's the thing too, is like, you have to find out what anytime you take a step forward, that's a success, right? I mean, this is all a journey, and everything that we do accomplish, that's just another milepost on that journey, on that road to wherever we want to go. I did want to make it a point that, that kind of goes along with making goals, or the first time you write a book, because a lot of people, they've never written a book, right? I mean, there was at one time we did not either, and we're still learning as we go. So, the first time you finish your book, it's like, you're climbing a mountain, right? And, and with each word you write, each chapter you complete, each whatever, I mean, you're getting a little further along down the line, and you accidentally find your way to the top, right? And so now you're at the mountaintop, and just like every goal that you complete, or everything you complete, you realize, okay, that's nice. And now there's another mountain. Now, I think the really hard thing for people after the first book is to do another book, because before you didn't know what it took to get to that mountaintop. You're just kind of going along, just, trying to figure it out. But then every subsequent book after that, or subsequent book after that, exactly what it takes. And it's almost like, okay, all right. And then you go, at least for me, I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. Because my first 2 books are part of a series, and there's a third one kind of making its way through my head. And then the next book that comes out in February, it's also part of a series, and book 2 is halfway done. The story part itself is not hard. The process of, because I will justify everything. I'm like, oh, well, I know that I hit, twice my goal yesterday, and so I don't have to focus on it today, but then I have to make sure that I am focusing on it another day. Anyway, so I can justify my skipping writing, even if I do have time to write. And so sometimes I have to hold myself accountable, or ask other people to be like, hey, ask me if I wrote today, because sometimes I don't. But some of the processes do become easier after the first book, because okay, I need to do this, this, and this, but this didn't work the first time, so let's tweak this and do it differently. So There are things, I guess, about the process that are the same, and then there are some that do get easier, because when you do climb a mountain, after that first mountain climb, you're in better shape to climb the second mountain, right?
Definitely. Yeah. It's when you take time off, like I have.
Yeah. Getting back into it. Yeah.
Getting back into it. Real quick, I forgot to do this at the start. I want to welcome our viewers. If you are watching now, if you want to tell us where you're watching from, be sure to pop that in the comments, and we'd love to know where you're at. If you have any questions, hey, you can use those comments. Let us know, and we'll try to answer them right now or in the future. If you missed this podcast, you can catch us on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, because we finally got that up and running. And you can shoot us an email at authorsdilemma@gmail.com. So moving on. So, back to the conversation. Sorry, that was just a little plug. I had to get it out there.
That's good. After these messages, we'll be right back. Oh, look,
Brought to
from
you
Pace.
by yeah.
All right, Pace, Florida. All about some Pace,
Oh.
Florida. We got relatives down there.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Justin-
that Pace was in Florida because I've never heard of it.
Oh,
But I'm from the far other side of the country.
so Justin Barber says hello from Pace. Hey, Justin, man, I appreciate you being here. You are an awesome friend. Man, he's very supportive, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for hanging out, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for someone to be from somewhere else.
Yeah. Well,
Not Florida,
I am a
not
side
Alabama.
yeah.
Somewhere
Yeah, I'm waiting for
else.
that. It's funny. I had a friend of mine. Okay, rabbit trail. Nothing about books. A friend of mine, he told me the other day he had a dream about me, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, it was really strange. It was like you were the president. I'm like, okay, that's really weird. And he's like, yeah, and then you were going to disclose everything. And I was like, all right, well, that's all right, cool. Anyway, getting back on topic here. Oh, we have another guest. It's my brother Jared from Huachuca City, Arizona, which that's closer to where you're at in Utah.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Arizona's lovely.
It really
Arizona is nice, actually.
It is a nice area. It's really good for the sinuses. It's a very dry. Man, all your friends from Pace are online tonight. That's nice.
Yeah. Oh,
Hi,
wow.
Cody. Mm-hmm.
And Cody Busby, thanks for showing up. And I appreciate you being here, sharing your time with us. Remember, guys, if you have any questions about writing or the publishing process, be sure to let us know. We'll try to answer the best we can as we talk about various topics.
Absolutely. I think this year I have decided that I guess it's a theme. I don't know. I've been working with the word intentionality. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I do with intentionality. And so, I love that joy is your theme, Hyrum. I love that because I think so often we do get bogged down. And I think that is something that I'm going to incorporate into I'm going to be intentional about finding those moments that do bring joy, because sometimes, especially when you're writing, you're by yourself a lot and you're like, oh, this isn't very fun, or your imagination talking to fake people. So I think being intentional and finding the joy, even in that, I think
sometimes my best conversation.
That's true. That's true. Oh, we have another friend over there, Martha.
Yes, Martha Johnson. Hey, Martha, thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. I've known her ever since I was a little child. She was a friend of my parents. So and thank you so much for supporting us. Man, it's always good to see familiar names and faces, or not faces because I can't see you, but it's good to see and read familiar messages or messages from familiar people. So
that's awesome.
I think for me this year, and it's every year, right? I think my biggest word, it really never changes. It's just really endurance. Endure. Not even endurance. It's endure. Like sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes life kicks you in the stomach, punches you in the face, and kind of like climbing that mountain, sometimes storms come along, and it's everything you can do just to hold on.
It's true.
But
that's true.
As long as you keep progressing, eventually, if you endure and don't give up, eventually you can accomplish whatever goals you have, whether it be, writing a book or finishing your degree or whatever else you want to teach or learn, or whatever. So yeah, endure. That's mine.
I like it. And I think with endurance, though, you have to be careful, because sometimes people are like, well, I'll just endure it. And your mindset or your mentality can get so just bogged down with, I have to do this. And you begin to trudge, right? You're just trudging along and you're not enjoying the journey. So when you're enduring, yeah, you're going to stand up against whatever's batting you down, but make sure you're also doing it with the mentality of, I'm enduring this because I'm going to go somewhere and it's worth it.
But see, I don't know, because there's been some times in my life that were like horrible, but they created the best memories.
Yeah.
Like the military.
Yeah. Okay. So the military is a weird example because they are literally trying to kill you, but the enemy, but it's still another military.
Right.
So,
well, they're creating, I don't know how to explain it properly here, but basically, you go through a lot of experiences. Shared misery builds bonds, and it builds, experiences, and also creates a, confidence in yourself that, well, heck, I've been through worse because this is pretty
Yeah.
crappy,
Ew.
and I don't know whether that's helped me in other stuff. Cause like I said, writing is tough. I mean, sometimes it's just like, I hate this, but I can't
But
not do it.
sometimes you got to learn when to not endure. That is also a strange life lesson, because sometimes things simply aren't worth it. So I gave up on TikTok. I did not endure, but that's because it's a toxic cesspool that I could not justify in my own mind.
That was a bridge too
Jennifer's very
far.
good at
It was a bridge over River Kwai. Couldn't get there.
I couldn't handle it. Because
without TikTok, y'all wouldn't have me.
That's right.
Yes, that's true.
We did meet.
But
We
it
did
was
meet to Jen through TikTok.
there was no good reason to endure it for me, because it caused me pain and no joy.
Right.
It had no reward. There was no reward at the end that I could see, that I could justify. And that is also part of why I'm not really yet ready for marketing. I would love people to buy my books. Available now. No. But I
Which
do
this
not
episode
want
is brought to you by Hyrum Box's book, which if you want to go ahead and talk about it, man, go ahead. You're going to do a plug.
Well, my books are great. I love them. I mean, they're funny. Great. But marketing them is so painful that right now it's not worth it. Now, when I've got 6-7 books under my belt, I can start seeing a benefit to marketing, because marketing one book is painful. Marketing 2 books might be less painful. Marketing 6 or 7 books, well, now you've got, it's like you're a store. Now it's like, you like that? Well, you might like this, but if you don't like that, you might even like this, because I can sell them different genres. But I don't want to do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain. Well, because the problem is every time you market, as soon as you learn something that works, it changes. Yeah. So there's a constant. So there has to be a strategy there. Like I've read somewhere where, I mean, there's a lot of training out there that teaches this, and some of it's really good. Like if you write series, you set it up where you market the first book, and the book, you might put it for 99 cents or for free. And you have like a landing page where they give you their email, because you need to build your email, which I'm sorely need to do. And then at the end of that book, there's a link to the next book, and then the next book. And so you lose money on the first book. But if you have like 3 to 4 books in the series, you recoup it on the back end, because because if they don't like your book, well, then you don't want them to buy your books anyway. But if they do and it's free, well, they're not going to leave a bad comment, because hopefully they won't. But if they go through your series and they like it, well, obviously they're going to keep buying more, and then that's going to encourage more good comments and better ratings. I kind of agree with that. I mean, my problem, and here again, I said it a little bit last week about writing standalones. It's really tough because each book has to stand on its own, and that's the problem with creating a brand versus a series name, like and I think we could beat that we could beat that dead horse all day long.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think you have to, again, it goes back to do what works for you, right? Because both of my books, this one and that one, there it is. I don't know, it's mirrored. I don't know where it is. These guys are a series. Anyway, and
for those of that aren't online with us, we are currently pointing to our books that you cannot see because it's out of focus on the bookshelves behind us.
Yeah, sorry, but yeah, but I wrote them as a series because it's true for me as a reader that I'm not always done with the characters, and I want to pick them back up. And I'm like, okay, I need to know what happens to these characters next, and I need to know what happens to these characters next. And so I read series like they're one book. I will sit down for a weekend and I will devour a series because that's how my brain functions. But you can also read either one of them as a standalone and not miss anything, So if the second book is read first, they can go back and get the background if they wanted to and have more details about where the story is. So I think as an author, you have to either know who you're writing to, right? I'm writing to people who are like me and who love a good series and who fall in love with characters more than they do the plot, whereas other people may not write that way. So
Right. So up until this point, I've been, like I said, writing standalones, and uh, I like to leave little Easter eggs from my previous book into the, like, I'll make a side reference, and so I like doing that. But for this next one, the urban fantasy that I'm looking at, I'm actually looking at maybe turning that into a series, or try my hand at it, because urban fantasy, it's just, it kind of leads up to that, right? I mean, you can't have just one. It's like a Lay's potato chip. You just can't have just one.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And then, and then there's always that question of like, okay, so after you have a few books out, do you stay indie or do you try to go traditional? Which nowadays, is the juice worth the squeeze to go to traditional? Because, I mean, heck,
Not to me.
no, not, I mean, and not to a lot of people, but for some people it seems to work. But I mean, because I heard it said, right, like 10% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape.
If you like watermelon.
Yeah. But
and
again,
if they don't require you to spend a watermelon to get the 10% of
no,
the
well, no, and that's the first thing. If you and for new writers, new authors that don't know the difference, if you are ever approached by a publisher, you should never spend money.
That's right.
You never spend money, because that's a vanity press, and they're predators. They just want your money. So if you do try to go traditional, you support, or you submit your manuscript to either your agent, which you probably need one, which I don't, and then you either have them submit it, or you can submit directly to the publisher, and then hopefully get picked up that way. But you got to be careful, because they're out there to make money too, and there was a friend of mine a few years back that they had like 3 or 4 books out, but their contract was horrible because they didn't have someone go to bat for them, so they really never made anything. And then at the very end, the publisher kind of owned the rights, but they didn't really do anything to push the book either. So you got to be careful along with that. So, and then I've also heard this other concept of hybrid publishing, where it's kind of like a mix between indie publishing and traditional. And so I need to do some more research on that. But
well, I can
That's Dave
tell
Farland.
you.
What?
Dave Farland says do hybrid. You have at least 1 or 2 books in traditional, and then the rest indie, and you'll make the most money.
Right. No, but there's actually some companies out there that I don't know how they do it.
Well, I will point you in a direction. If you want to head over to the Connected Conversations for Creatives podcast, where yours truly is the host. And I'm just going to plug that here because
go ahead.
It's a different podcast for one thing. But I talk to different professionals, authors, that kind of thing from all the industries. I actually have several interviews with at least 3 that are out right now with hybrid press publishers, like the managers or the founders, and I think one of them is the CEO. Anyway, they're all hybrid press publishing, like Atmosphere Press and House of Honor. I have to look the other one up. Anyway, you can learn more about the difference between hybrid and indie and vanity press publishing. And yeah, vanity publishing, like stay away from those guys as much as possible. Like they're going to want your money and they're not going to offer you anything in return. Whereas your hybrid press, they offer editors, they offer cover designers. You get the final say in everything, unlike traditional publishing a lot of times. Now you're still doing all your marketing. They do some, but you're still going to be on the line for that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a great idea.
But see, also that's the beauty of indie versus traditional too, because it's like I don't have to go through so many gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Right. I can immediately get it out there. And the nice thing is like I get a really quick response of whether people like my book. Now the problem is getting my book out in front of enough people, or a lot of people now. I have good ratings and I have good reviews, but now I'm trying to learn how to get my book in front of more people.
Yeah.
Well, trad publishers aren't helping anyway.
No, well, exactly, and that's that too. And now it's just to the point where they're not really. I don't know. Things have changed.
It's true.
The world has changed.
It's.
I mean, heck, used to we weren't podcasts, radio shows, right? I mean, you had to have a whole lot of capital or a radio station, and get hooked up, and now we come to you live from our home.
Yeah.
Yeah, from our bedrooms or offices, and
yeah,
we're
Yep.
whatever we're
Using
doing.
a cheap $10 ring light, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I love it.
I got my Earl Grey tea right here.
That's right. I love
Thank you,
it.
Captain Picard.
I'm glad you got that.
That's fantastic. That is so
All
cool.
right. So we're at the 30-minute mark. I guess that's time for us to start closing it down. I just want to say, for those of you that showed up and spent your time with us this evening, thank you so much. And like I said, if you ever have any questions in the future, let me put that banner up. Be sure to email us at authorsdilemma@gmail.com. We do monitor that. And, head over to our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page right now. Oh, which is a new addition. We can actually stream directly to the Author's Dilemma Facebook page. So eventually that's going to be the overarching page, and to go on. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. Talking about accountability at some point in the future, I don't know about this week, but once we all sit down and talk about it and come up with a schedule, we're, for all you new writers out there, if you would like to join us on Discord, because we have a Discord, which I haven't, we don't have a link yet, but eventually we're going to start doing writing sprints, which will be kind of like an accountability group for writers. So for like 30 minutes on a Tuesday, we come together, talk for 5 minutes, and then we sprint write for 25 minutes. And then for 5 more minutes, we close up and call it an evening. And then we might have that like on a Tuesday night. I might be there on a Tuesday. Jen might run one on Saturday if she wants to. Hyrum might run on some other time, or not. Like no. And what I mean is
Or not.
It's
Sorry, Hyrum.
No. It's one of those things that we will have a dedicated channel for people that want to meet at those certain times. Those are the times that we're going to be there as well.
Yes.
But if no one shows up, no big deal. It's not a big deal if you show up or not.
Yeah.
So no pressure is what I'm saying.
Be prepared for the thrill a minute of writing together.
Yes. The thrill of whirl. Yeah. All right. All right. So
and remember, that was the topic was go check out CGP Grey for videos on themes and any other. He has the best video on it is all about how hexagons are amazing. That's how nerdy I am.
Oh
wow. I'm gonna have to follow up on that one. All right. I guess that's it. And everyone. Oh, by the way, we never introduced ourselves, did we?
I mean, we did not.
Yeah. Well, I'm J.E. Jack. I write supernatural thrillers.
I'm Hyrum Hawks, and I write hard sci-fi and hard sci fantasy.
And I'm Jennifer Carr, and I write romance.
All right, and that's all for this week. And we're learning as we go too. So have a great one. We'll see you next Thursday. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.